sir. Can you hear me? Are you okay? Oh, sir, you need to drink this. It will buy you time till the ambulance arrives.
Smoke curled into the silent afternoon sky as Cynthia froze on the lonely path. Ahead of her, a car lay upside down, crushed and burning, with no one else in sight. The whole village was gone. At the wedding, then she heard it, faint, broken. A voice. Her heart pounded. No, I should go back, she whispered, stepping away. Fear wrapped around her chest. But something inside her refused. If you leave, he will die. She turned back. Slowly, trembling, she moved closer. The heat hit her skin. And then she saw him, a handsome man, bloodied. Glass cuts across his face. Barely breathing, hanging between life and death. Can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
She called.
Can you hear me?
No response. Suddenly, a phone rang nearby.
Are you okay?
She grabbed it and answered. Instantly, a sharp voice lashed out. Who is this? Why do you have my fiance's phone? Cynthia's eyes widened as she looked at the dying man. There's been an accident, she said quickly. He's dying, you need to send help now. She lowered the phone, her hands shaking as she stared at him. One choice. One moment, and everything was about to change. If you want to see what happens next, like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment, because this story only gets more shocking from here. Saturday morning came with a soft golden light, and for the first time in a long while, Cynthia woke up with a smile on her face. Her heart was light, filled with quiet excitement as she remembered the wedding everyone had been talking about. Cynthia had always been known in the village as a quiet, gentle girl, the kind who never argued, never complained, and always worked with her hands no matter how tired she felt. She lost her mother when she was still very young, too young to even understand what death truly meant. And from that moment, life slowly became something she had to endure, rather than enjoy. Why? Her father remarried, hoping to give her a new mother, but instead, Cynthia gained a woman whose heart seemed to harden each passing day, and a stepsister, Rebecca, who treated her more like a servant than family. From sunrise to nightfall, Cynthia worked endlessly, sweeping the compound, fetching water, cooking, washing clothes, while Rebecca spent her time admiring herself, trying on fine clothes and talking about the rich life she believed she deserved. When food was served, Cynthia waited until everyone had eaten, taking whatever was left, sometimes barely enough to fill her stomach. And if anything went wrong in the house, no matter how small, the blame always found its way back to her, followed by harsh words that slowly chipped away at her spirit. Look at Rebecca, her stepmother would often say with pride. Beautiful, smart, and destined for greatness. Not like you. Cynthia would lower her head, swallowing the pain quietly, because she had learned long ago that speaking up only made things worse. But despite everything, there was still a small part of her that dreamed. That dream grew stronger when news spread across the village. The wedding of the town billionaire's only son. The entire community buzzed with excitement. People preparing their finest clothes, talking endlessly about the grand celebration that would bring together the rich and powerful. Even Rebecca could not stop talking about it, boasting about how she would stand out among the crowd. Cynthia listened in silence, her heart secretly wishing, just once, to be part of something beautiful like that, to wear something nice, to smile freely without fear, even if it was just for a day. She sat up slowly, holding her chest as if to calm the excitement beating inside her. Today, maybe today will be different, she whispered to herself. She moved quickly through her chores, sweeping, washing, arranging everything neatly. Her hands worked fast, but her mind was far away at the wedding. When she was sure no one was watching, She rushed into her small corner, brought out her only good dress and held it gently against her body. "It's not too bad. Maybe if I stand at the back, no one will notice," she said quietly, almost convincing herself. She smiled faintly. "I just want to see." Just once. Just then, her stepmother's voice pierced through the air. "Cynthia, where are you?" Cynthia quickly hid the dress and ran out. "Yes, Ma," she said, trying to steady her voice. Her stepmother looked at her coldly. "You will go to the farm today. The weeds have taken over. Make sure you finish everything before you come back." Cynthia blinked, confused. "The farm? But what about the wedding?" Her stepmother frowned deeply. "What about it?" Cynthia swallowed hard. "I thought maybe after my chores I could go for a little while. I won't stay long, I promise." Rebecca, who was sitting nearby, let out a small laugh. "Did you hear her, Mother? She wants to go to the wedding." Cynthia turned to her, her voice soft but hopeful. "I'm not asking for much, just to watch from afar." Her stepmother's eyes grew sharp. "And who do you think you are?" she snapped. "Do you think you belong among people like that?" Cynthia stepped forward slightly, her voice trembling. "I will stand at the back. No one will even notice me." The slap came suddenly. "Pa?" Cynthia staggered back, holding her cheek in shock. "You are becoming too bold," her stepmother said angrily. "After everything we do for you, you still dare to argue." Tears filled Cynthia's eyes. "I'm not arguing, Just what?" Her stepmother cut in. "Just because you have 2 legs like Rebecca, you think you are the same?" Rebecca stood up, adjusting her dress with pride. "Look at yourself, Cynthia," she said, circling her slowly. "What exactly will you wear there? That rag you hide like treasure." Cynthia looked down, ashamed but still desperate. "It's clean. I washed it myself." Rebecca laughed louder. "Clean? That doesn't make it worthy." Cynthia's voice dropped to a whisper. "I only want to feel happy, even if it's just for today." Her stepmother stepped closer, her voice low and dangerous. "Happiness is not for people like you. Your place is in the farm. If I hear another word about this wedding, you will regret it." Cynthia opened her mouth slightly, but no words came out. The hope inside her slowly faded. "Now go and get your tools," her stepmother ordered. "Or do you want another slap?" Cynthia nodded weakly. "Yes, Ma." A few minutes later, she stood quietly by the door as Rebecca and her stepmother prepared to leave. Rebecca wore a beautiful dress that shimmered in the sunlight, her face glowing with confidence. "Mother, do I look good?" she asked, turning around. "You look perfect," her stepmother replied proudly. Then Rebecca glanced at Cynthia and smirked. "Make sure you finish the farm work properly. We don't want you bringing shame to this house." As usual, Cynthia said nothing. She simply watched them walk away, their laughter filling the air. As their voices faded, the silence returned. Cynthia stood there for a moment, her eyes fixed on the empty road. "Maybe, in another life," she whispered softly. Then she bent down, picked up her tools and started walking. Each step felt heavier than the last. The road was long, quiet, and empty. No children playing, no women chatting, no movement at all. It was as if the whole world had gone somewhere else. In the distance, faint music and celebration echoed through the air, reminding her of everything she was missing. She paused for a second, looking in that direction. "I hope it's beautiful," she murmured, forcing a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then she continued walking, alone on the silent path, while everyone else was at the wedding. Cynthia walked slowly along the empty path, her tools resting on her shoulder, her mind still heavy with everything that had happened when suddenly she stopped. not too far ahead of her. Something felt wrong. Her eyes narrowed, trying to understand what she was seeing. Then her heart skipped. A car. It was turned completely upside down, its body crushed, its tires still spinning slightly as thick smoke rose into the quiet air. She froze. What happened here? She whispered, her voice barely audible. The road remained silent, too silent, as if even the wind was afraid to pass through. She took a small step back. No, I shouldn't be here, she murmured, fear creeping into her chest. This is dangerous. I should go back. But just as she turned slightly, ready to leave, she heard a faint, broken sound. Help! Cynthia's body stiffened. She slowly turned back, her eyes wide. Did I just hear that? She asked herself, her breath quickening. Another weak sound followed, almost lost in the smoke. Please! Her hands began to shake. Someone is alive, she said, her voice trembling. She looked around again, hoping someone else would appear. Someone stronger, someone braver. But there was no one. The road was empty. If I stay, what if the car explodes? She whispered, fear tightening around her. What if I die here? No one will even know. She took another step back, her body ready to run. Then she stopped again. Her father's voice echoed faintly in her memory. Cynthia, no matter how hard life becomes, never turn your back on someone who needs help. She closed her eyes tightly. But I'm scared, she admitted softly. Then she opened them again, her face slowly changing. And he is dying. She swallowed hard. If I leave now, he will die. For a brief moment, everything inside her fought for control. Fear or courage. Then she took a deep breath. Okay, she said quietly to herself. I will try. Her steps were slow and careful as she moved closer, the heat brushing against her skin, the smell of smoke growing stronger. Hello? She called out, her voice shaking. Can you hear me? No answer. Only the faint crackling of the damaged car. She moved closer, her heart pounding louder with each step until she finally saw him. A man, trapped inside, his body twisted awkwardly. His face handsome but now covered in blood and tiny cuts from shattered glass. His lips dry, his breathing shallow and uneven. Cynthia gasped softly. Oh no, she whispered, her eyes filling with fear. You're badly hurt. She bent slightly, trying to see if he could hear her. Sir, can you hear me? Please, say something. The man didn't respond. Only a faint breath escaped his lips. Cynthia's hands trembled. Don't die. Please don't die, she said, almost like a prayer. Suddenly, a sharp sound broke through the moment. A phone ringing. Cynthia jumped slightly, her eyes searching quickly until she saw it lying near his pocket, covered in dust. She hesitated for a second. Should I? The phone kept ringing. She quickly picked it up and answered. Hello? Her voice was unsteady. Immediately, a sharp female voice fired back, full of anger and suspicion. Who is this? Why do you have my fiance's phone? Cynthia blinked, confused, her eyes moving slowly back to the man. Your fiance? She repeated softly. Yes, the voice snapped. I've been calling him for minutes. Who are you? Cynthia swallowed quickly, trying to steady herself. Please, listen to me, she said urgently. There has been an accident. His car, it's overturned. He's badly injured. There was a brief silence on the line. Then the woman's voice returned, this time filled with panic. What do you mean accident? Where is he? Cynthia looked around quickly. I'm on the road leading to the farm. Not far from the main village. Please, you need to come quickly. He's barely breathing. Oh my God, the woman whispered, her voice shaking now. Cynthia tightened her grip on the phone. Please send help now, she begged. If you don't come fast, he might not survive. Cynthia dropped the phone and rushed back to the wreck, her fear pushed aside by urgency. Stay with me. Please don't die, she whispered as she reached into the broken frame, her hands shaking as she tried to free him. The metal was twisted, his body trapped awkwardly, and every pull made her wince. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I have to get you out, she said, her voice soft but desperate. She braced her feet against the ground and pulled with all her strength. Come on, please. After a struggle that felt like forever, his body finally loosened, and she dragged him carefully out of the car, laying him flat by the roadside. His breathing was weak, uneven. Cynthia knelt beside him, panic rising. No, this is not enough, she muttered. Then suddenly, a memory flashed in her mind, her father's voice, calm and steady. Cynthia, there is a herb in the bush. If you ever see someone struggling to breathe, crush the leaves and let them drink the juice. It can bring life back, even when hope is fading. Cynthia's eyes widened. The herb, she whispered. She looked at the man, then at the bush nearby. Don't go anywhere, she said quickly, almost as if he could hear her. I'm coming back. You have to hold on. Without wasting another second, she ran into the bush, pushing branches aside, her eyes searching frantically. Where is it? Where is it? She murmured. Her heart raced as she scanned the ground until finally she saw it. The small green leaves her father once showed her. Yes, this is it, she said with relief. She plucked it quickly and ran back, dropping to her knees beside him. Her fingers worked fast, crushing the leaves in her palm, squeezing out the juice. Please, this has to work, she whispered, lifting his head slightly. You need to drink this. Please. She gently poured the liquid into his mouth, her hand trembling. Swallow it. Just a little, please, she begged. But nothing happened. The liquid slipped slightly from the side of his lips. Cynthia's eyes filled with fear. No, don't do this, she said, her voice breaking. You can't die now. Not after everything. She shook her head, her breathing becoming uneven. Come on, fight. Please fight. For a moment everything stood still. No movement. No response. Cynthia felt her chest tighten. Please, she whispered, her voice almost gone. Then suddenly his body jerked slightly. A small cough escaped his lips. Cynthia froze. Wait. She leaned closer. Another cough followed, stronger this time. Then he sneezed sharply, his chest rising as air rushed back into his lungs. Cynthia gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Oh my God, you're breathing, she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. His breathing slowly became steadier, his chest rising and falling with more strength. After a few moments, his eyes fluttered open weakly, unfocused at first, then slowly settling on her face. He looked at her faintly, confusion and life returning at the same time. Cynthia let out a shaky breath, her voice soft and full of relief. You're okay. You're going to be okay. The sound came before the sight sirens cutting through the quiet, growing louder and sharper until a convoy of vehicles appeared on the dusty road, led by a shining black car that stopped abruptly beside the wreck. Cynthia stepped back quickly, her hands still stained, her breath uneven as the ambulance doors swung open and uniformed men rushed out. From the black car, a young woman stepped down, elegant and flawless, her heels clicking against the ground, her eyes searching wildly until they landed on the scene before her. Cynthia crouched beside the injured man, supporting his head gently in her arms. She froze. Her expression changed instantly. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her voice cold and sharp. Cynthia looked up, startled. "Are you the one I spoke to?" she asked softly. The woman's eyes narrowed. "Why are you touching him?" she snapped, stepping closer. "Who are you?" Cynthia swallowed, confused by the sudden anger. I found him like this. I was trying to help. He couldn't breathe. So you decided to hold him like that?" The woman cut in harshly. "Do you think I'm a fool?" Cynthia shook her head quickly. "No, please, you don't understand. He was dying. I had to pull him out. There was no one else." "Enough!" the woman shouted, her voice rising with emotion. "Don't pretend like you care. You villagers are all the same, looking for opportunities." Cynthia's face fell, hurt flashing across her eyes. "I'm not like that," she said quietly. "I only wanted to save him." But the woman wasn't listening. In one swift motion, she stepped forward and pushed Cynthia hard. "Get away from him!" Cynthia lost her balance and fell back onto the dusty ground, her hands scraping against the rough surface. She winced but said nothing, too shocked to react. The paramedics rushed in immediately, lifting the man carefully onto a stretcher. As they moved him, his eyes flickered open slightly, his lips parting weakly. Wait," he struggled to say, his voice barely more than air. Cynthia looked up quickly, her heart jumping. "He's trying to speak," she said softly, trying to get their attention. The man's eyes searched weakly until they found her. His hand moved slightly, as if reaching. "You!" he whispered faintly, his voice trembling. "Thank you." Cynthia's eyes filled with tears, her lips parting but no words coming out. Before anything more could be said, one of the paramedics interrupted. "We're losing time." They quickly pushed the stretcher into the ambulance. "Wait," Cynthia called softly, taking a step forward, but the elegant woman moved in front of her, blocking her path. "You've done enough," she said coldly, her eyes filled with warning. "Stay away from him." Cynthia froze. The ambulance doors slammed shut. The siren rose again. And just like that, they were gone. The dust slowly settled back onto the empty road. Silence returned. Cynthia stood there, alone, her chest rising and falling as everything sank in. She looked down at her hands, still shaking, still marked with the effort of trying to save a life. I only wanted to help," she whispered, her voice breaking. No one heard her. No one thanked her. No one even asked her name. She wiped her tears slowly, staring at the road where they had disappeared. And in that quiet moment, the truth settled heavily in her heart. She had saved a life. Yet she was left behind like she never mattered. The hospital corridor was filled with urgent footsteps and tense voices as doctors rushed Silas into the emergency room. "BP dropping," one of them shouted. "Prepare oxygen support." Another responded. The doors swung shut, and for hours, everything outside felt like silence stretched too long. Kenny stood near the glass window, her hands folded tightly, trying to look calm, but her eyes betrayed her fear. "He will be fine. He has to be fine," she kept whispering to herself, almost like a prayer. Inside, the doctors worked with full focus, their expressions growing more and more surprised with every scan and check. "This is impossible," one of them muttered. "With injuries like this, he shouldn't have made it past the roadside." Another doctor shook his head in disbelief. "But he's stable now. Someone acted fast before we arrived." After what felt like forever, one of the senior doctors stepped out. The hallway went quiet immediately. Kenny rushed forward. "Doctor, how is he? Is he okay?" she asked quickly. The doctor removed his mask slowly. "He is stable now," he said. Relief washed over her face instantly. "Thank God," she whispered, holding her chest. But then the doctor added, "He is lucky. Very lucky. Whoever helped him at the scene saved his life." Inside the room, Silas slowly opened his eyes, weak but conscious. "Where am I?" he asked faintly. A nurse leaned closer. "You're in the hospital. You had an accident, but you're safe now." His eyes shifted slightly. "The girl," he whispered. "The girl who was there." The nurse paused. "We are still trying to get details." At that moment, the door opened again, and a man in a formal suit entered quickly, followed by security. The entire room changed atmosphere instantly. One of the doctors stepped back respectfully. "Sir." The man moved closer, his voice tense but controlled. "Silas," he said softly. Kenny's eyes widened. She turned quickly to the nurse beside her. "Did he just say Silas?" she asked quietly. The nurse nodded. "Yes, that's his name." The weight of the name filled the room. One of the security men whispered, "That is the president's only son." Kenny's face changed immediately. Her earlier panic shifted into something more calculated, more careful. She stepped closer to the glass, smoothing her dress, her voice now soft. "Silas, I'm here," she said gently, pressing her hand against the window like she was deeply emotional. Inside, Silas didn't respond. His eyes stayed distant, as if searching for something else. Someone else. His father's representative turned to the doctors. "Full medical care. No mistakes." "Yes, sir," they replied quickly. Kenny remained close, watching everything carefully, her voice now sweet again as she leaned toward the window. "Don't worry," she whispered to herself. "I'm here with you. I will take care of everything." But even as she spoke, Silas lay there silently, his mind not on her at all, but on the faint memory of a girl who pulled him back from death. Cynthia walked back home slowly that evening, her body tired, her clothes stained, her mind still replaying the moment the man started breathing again. For a brief second, she had felt something close to peace. "At least he is alive," she whispered to herself as she reached the gate. But the moment she stepped inside, the atmosphere changed. Her stepmother was already waiting, arms folded, face cold with anger. "So you are finally back," she said sharply. Cynthia lowered her head. "I'm sorry. There was an accident on the road. I had to—" "Shut up," her stepmother snapped, stepping closer. "Do you know what time it is? Do you think this is your father's house where you do whatever you like?" Cynthia swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to be late. I was helping someone who was dying," Rebecca laughed from the corner. "Helping someone? Or looking for attention?" she said mockingly. Cynthia turned to her quickly. "No, I'm telling the truth. A man was trapped in a car. He couldn't breathe. I had to help him." Her stepmother's eyes narrowed. "And you expect me to believe that story?" she asked coldly. Cynthia's voice dropped. "It's true. I swear." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then suddenly, her stepmother raised her hand and struck her hard across the face. "Liar!" she shouted. Cynthia staggered back, holding her cheek, tears filling her eyes. "Why do you always think I'm lying?" she whispered painfully. "Even when I tell the truth." Her stepmother grabbed her arm roughly. "Because people like you don't do good things for nothing," she said angrily. "You must have done something wrong there." Cynthia shook her head quickly. "I only saved him." That's all I did. But her words meant nothing. The anger only grew. You will learn your place today, her stepmother said sharply. Rebecca, hold her. Rebecca stepped forward with a smirk. Gladly, she replied. What followed was another night of pain blows, insults, and harsh words that cut deeper than the beating itself. You are useless, her stepmother shouted. A burden we never wanted. Cynthia curled on the floor, covering herself as much as she could. Please, I didn't do anything wrong, she cried softly. But no one listened. When it was over, she was left on the cold floor, breathing heavily, her body aching all over. Later that night, she sat alone in a corner, hugging her knees. Her stomach growled, empty as always. Rebecca passed by with a plate of food, eating slowly on purpose. Are you hungry? She asked with a fake smile. Cynthia looked away. Please, just leave me, Rebecca chuckled. You should get used to hunger. It suits you. Cynthia said nothing. After a long silence, she whispered to herself. I saved a life today. Her eyes filled with tears. But I still don't matter here. Outside, the night was quiet. Inside, her pain continued unseen, unheard, and forgotten. Days passed in the hospital, and Silas slowly began to recover. The pain in his body faded, but something else stayed with him, an image he could not forget. The girl, he would whisper sometimes when left alone. She had soft eyes. She didn't run away. One evening, as he sat up for the first time without support, he turned to the doctor. I want to find her, he said firmly. The girl who saved me. The doctor hesitated. We are still trying to trace her identity, sir. Silas shook his head. I don't need reports. I need to see her. Soon after, he left the hospital against advice, determined. He drove back to the village with his guards, stepping out as villagers gathered in shock at his presence. Who are you looking for, sir? One man asked. Silas looked around carefully. A girl, he said. She was at the accident scene. She saved my life. She lives here. The villagers exchanged confused looks. What girl? One woman asked. Silas tried to describe her. She is quiet, humble. She wears simple clothes. She works hard. Another man shook his head. We don't know anyone like that. Silas frowned slightly. Please think. She matters to me. They all looked at each other again, still unsure. Then suddenly, from somewhere in the distance, a faint sound broke through the air. Crying. Soft. Painful. Familiar. Silas turned immediately. What is that? He asked sharply. An old man sighed. That is just Cynthia, he said quietly. She is always crying, always being beaten. Silas froze. Cynthia, he repeated. Where? The man pointed toward a small compound. Over there. But it is not something you should involve yourself in. But Silas was already moving. Come with me, he ordered his guards firmly. They rushed forward, and as they got closer, the sound became clearer shouts, insults, and then a sharp cry of pain. Silas pushed the gate open, and what he saw made him stop instantly. Cynthia was on the ground, covering herself, as she was being beaten harshly by her stepmother, while Rebecca stood watching. I told you not to bring shame to this house, the stepmother shouted, raising her hand again. Please, I didn't do anything wrong, Cynthia cried weakly. Before the next blow could land, Silas rushed in. Enough, he shouted. The entire compound froze. He stepped forward and, without hesitation, placed himself between Cynthia and the woman. The blow meant for Cynthia hit his shoulder instead, but he didn't move. Touch her again, he said coldly, his voice shaking with anger, and you will regret it. The stepmother stepped back in shock. Who are you? She stammered. But Silas didn't answer. Slowly he turned and knelt beside Cynthia. It's you, he whispered softly. Carefully he lifted her face. Bruised, tear-stained, but still unmistakably beautiful in a quiet, fragile way that struck him deeply. His expression changed completely. So it was really you all this time, he said under his breath. Their eyes met for a moment, hers full of fear and confusion, his full of recognition and something deeper he could not explain. He stood up slowly, his voice now firm and dangerous. From today, he said, looking directly at the stepmother, no one in this house will ever lay a hand on her again. The compound remained silent, and for the first time, Cynthia wasn't invisible anymore. After that day, Silas could not find peace again. Even in the quiet of his home, surrounded by luxury and safety, his mind kept drifting back to her face. Not the fear he saw in her eyes, but the way she looked at him when she lifted his head on the roadside. Why do I keep thinking about her? He asked himself one night, sitting alone by the window. She is just a stranger, but why does it feel like I owe her my life twice? He tried to focus on work, meetings, calls, family discussions, but nothing stayed in his mind. Every silence brought her back. Every breath reminded him of her voice saying, "Please, drink this." One afternoon, Kenny arrived at his house. She stepped out of the car with a bright smile, holding gifts, trying to look cheerful. "Silas," she said softly as she walked in, "I've been so worried about you. I came as soon as I could." Silas looked at her for a moment, then gave a small nod. "I'm fine," he replied quietly. She sat beside him, holding his hand. "You scared me," she said. "When I heard about the accident, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, what if I lost you?" Silas didn't respond immediately. His eyes drifted slightly away. "Someone helped me before you arrived," he said after a pause. Kenny smiled quickly. "Yes, I know. I heard. I'm grateful to her." Silas turned to her slowly. "You didn't ask who she is," he said calmly. Kenny hesitated for a second. "It doesn't matter who she is," she replied, squeezing his hand gently. "What matters is that you are alive." But Silas gently pulled his hand away. "It does matter," he said softly. Kenny's smile faded slightly. "Silas, what are you trying to say?" He stood up and walked toward the window. "I keep seeing her face," he admitted quietly, "even when I don't want to." Kenny stood up too, her voice now more careful. "She is just a girl who helped you in an emergency. That's all." Silas shook his head slowly. "That's not all," he said. I don't even know how to explain it." Silence filled the room. Kenny stepped closer again. "Silas, you are tired. You almost died. Your mind is still healing." He turned to her. "Maybe," he said, but his eyes were distant. "But I can't lie to myself. Something about her. It won't leave me." Kenny forced a small laugh, but it didn't feel real. "And what about us?" she asked quietly. Silas looked at her for a long moment. "I don't know any more," he answered honestly. The words hung in the air heavily. Kenny's expression tightened slightly, but she quickly controlled it. "You're just confused," she said softly. "When you recover fully, everything will go back to normal." Silas didn't reply. Instead, he turned back to the window, his voice low. "I hope you're right," he said. But even as he spoke, he knew something inside him had already changed, and he could not undo it. Silas needed answers he couldn't find in silence, so he drove to his best friend's house, the only person he once trusted without doubt. "Maybe you will understand what I'm feeling," he told himself quietly as he stepped out of the car. The house was calm. Too calm. He walked in without warning. "Mark?" he called. "Are you home?" No answer came at first, just a faint sound from upstairs. Silas frowned slightly and climbed the stairs slowly. "Mark, I said I need to talk to you." His words stopped suddenly as he reached the half-open bedroom door. Inside he saw it. Kenny, his fiancée, and Mark, standing too close. Too familiar. Time seemed to freeze. Silas didn't move at first, as if his mind refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. "What is this?" he asked quietly. Both of them turned sharply. Kenny's face changed instantly. "Silas," she said quickly, stepping back. "It's not what you think." Mark also stepped forward. "Bro, wait. Let me explain." Silas shook his head slowly, his voice low and heavy. "Explain what exactly?" Kenny rushed toward him. "I came to talk to him about you. I was worried. I didn't know you would come here." Silas looked at her for a long moment. "So this is how you worry about me?" he asked softly. His voice didn't rise, but something inside him was breaking. Mark raised his hands. "Silas, I swear, nothing serious is happening. It's just a misunderstanding." Silas turned to him slowly. "You, of all people?" he said. "My best friend?" Silence filled the room. Kenny grabbed Silas's arm. "Please listen to me. I love you." "You know I do." Silas looked at her hand holding him, then gently removed it. "Love doesn't look like this," he said quietly. His eyes darkened with pain. "And trust doesn't feel like this." Mark stepped forward again. "We didn't plan this. It just happened. That was it." Silas let out a small, broken laugh. "It just happened," he repeated. "That's your explanation?" Kenny's voice softened, almost desperate. "Silas, please. Don't do this. We can fix it. You're misunderstanding everything." Silas looked at both of them, his face calm but shattered inside. "Do you know what's funny?" he said quietly. "I almost died, and the only person I keep seeing in my head is not either of you." Kenny froze. "What are you saying?" she whispered. Silas took a slow step back. "I went through fire, pain, and darkness," he said softly. "And the only hand I remember pulling me out wasn't yours." The room went silent. Kenny's eyes filled with tears. "Silas, please." She reached for him again, but he stepped away. "No," he said firmly, his voice finally breaking. "Don't touch me." He looked at Mark one last time. "I trusted you more than anyone," he said quietly. "And you chose this." Mark lowered his head. "I'm sorry, man." Silas shook his head. "Sorry doesn't fix betrayal." He turned toward the door, his steps slow, heavy, final. Behind him, Kenny cried out, "Silas, please don't leave like this." But he didn't stop. As he walked out into the sunlight, his chest felt empty, like something had been taken from him forever. He got into his car, sat still for a long moment, then whispered to himself, "Everyone I trusted broke me." And for the first time, Silas didn't know who to believe anymore, except the memory of a girl who had once saved his life without asking for anything in return. Silas returned home that night with a heavy silence following him like a shadow. He said nothing at dinner, only sat there staring at the table as if the world had become distant. His mother watched him carefully before finally speaking. "Silas, you haven't been yourself since the accident," she said softly. He didn't respond at first. Then quietly he said, "I think I lost everything I trusted." His father looked up. "What happened?" Silas hesitated, then exhaled slowly. "Kenny and Mark. They betrayed me." The room went still. Are you sure? His mother asked gently. Silas nodded. I saw it with my own eyes. His father's expression hardened. Then she was never the right one for you, he said firmly. Silence followed again. Heavier this time. After a moment, Silas spoke again, his voice lower. There is something else. His mother leaned forward slightly. What is it? Silas looked down at his hands. The girl who saved me. She's still out there. His father frowned. The one from the accident. Silas nodded. She pulled me out of the car. She saved my life before anyone else even arrived. His mother's expression softened. Have you found her? Silas shook his head slowly. I saw her again. After I was discharged. She was being beaten, he said quietly, his voice tightening. And no one cared. His father's face changed immediately. Beaten? Silas nodded. Like she meant nothing. His mother placed a hand over her chest. That girl, after saving you. Silas looked up. Yes, he said. She didn't ask for anything. No money, no attention, nothing. The room fell silent again. His father leaned back, thinking deeply. A girl like that in this world is rare, he said slowly. Silas nodded. I can't stop thinking about her, he admitted. Even when I try to forget everything else. His mother studied him closely. Silas, what are you trying to say? He hesitated, then spoke clearly for the first time. I don't want Kenny anymore, he said. And I don't want confusion. I want peace. And I see it when I think about her. His father looked at him seriously. Are you sure this is not just emotion from what you've been through? Silas shook his head. No, he said firmly. It's more than that. A long silence passed. Then his mother spoke gently. If this girl truly saved your life, and if she has suffered injustice all her life, she paused, then maybe she deserves something better too. Silas looked up. What are you saying? His mother smiled faintly. I'm saying, if your heart is already made up, then don't fight it. His father nodded slowly. We will support your decision, he said. But make sure it is not pity. Make sure it is love. Silas closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with certainty. It is love, he said quietly. I just didn't understand it at first. His mother reached for his hand. Then find her, she said softly, and do it the right way. That night, Silas stood by his window again, but this time his heart was clearer. Cynthia, he whispered, I don't know what this is, but I know I can't lose you again. And for the first time since the accident, his decision was no longer confusion. It was direction. The wedding day arrived like a dream the entire town had been waiting for. The streets were filled with luxury cars, guards and dignitaries arriving one after another. People stood at a distance whispering in disbelief as the president himself stepped out of his convoy, adjusting his suit calmly while security surrounded the area. Everything must be perfect today, one of the officials said firmly. This is the president's only son's wedding. Inside the grand venue, silence and elegance filled every corner. Flowers lined the hall, music played softly, and powerful men and women gathered, speaking in low, respectful tones. So it's true, one guest said quietly. The president's son is finally getting married. Another nodded. And to a girl no one knows, but they say she is special. Outside the main hall, Cynthia sat quietly in a separate room, her hands trembling slightly. For a moment, she looked at her reflection and barely recognized herself. The girl who used to walk barefoot to the farm was gone. In her place stood someone else. Her dress flowed softly, elegant and pure. Her hair was neatly done, her face glowing with calm confidence. A woman adjusted her veil gently. You look beautiful, she said softly. Cynthia swallowed, her voice low. I don't feel like I belong here. The woman smiled. That's what makes this moment powerful. You were never meant to stay where they placed you. Cynthia looked down at her hands. I just don't want to wake up and find out it's all a mistake. The woman touched her shoulder. It's not a mistake. It's your beginning. Meanwhile, outside, Rebecca stood with her mother at the guest area, both dressed beautifully but stiff with envy. Rebecca scanned the venue. Where is she? She whispered angrily. Her mother scoffed. Whoever this bride is, she must think she is very lucky. Rebecca crossed her arms. Lucky? I want to see what kind of woman Silas chose over everyone. Then suddenly, whispers spread through the crowd. The bride is coming. She is here. The music changed. The doors slowly opened, and Cynthia stepped out. For a moment, the entire hall went silent. Heads turned. Even the president paused slightly, his expression softening as he observed her walk forward with quiet grace. Silas stood at the altar, his eyes fixed on her as if the world had stopped moving. She's here, he whispered to himself. Cynthia walked slowly, her heart beating fast, but her steps steady. Each step felt like leaving her old life behind forever. Rebecca's face twisted in shock. No, it can't be her, she whispered. Her mother's eyes widened. That girl, the servant. Rebecca clenched her fists. How did she become this? Silas stepped forward slightly as Cynthia approached. His voice was soft but full of certainty. You came, he said. Cynthia looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. I almost didn't believe I would. He smiled gently. I told you. I wasn't going to lose you again. At the back of the hall, the president watched quietly. She is the one, he asked one of his aides. The aide nodded. Yes, sir. The girl who saved him. The president nodded slowly. Then she has my respect. Cynthia stood beside Silas now, no longer the girl who was sent to the farm. No longer the girl who was beaten and forgotten. Rebecca watched from a distance, her face burning with jealousy she could not hide. She doesn't deserve this, she muttered. But no one listened. As the ceremony began, Silas leaned slightly towards Cynthia and whispered, You are safe now. Cynthia's eyes filled slightly, but she smiled. I never felt safe before today, she replied softly. And in that moment, surrounded by power, silence, and disbelief, Cynthia was no longer a servant in anyone's story. She was the woman everyone had to see.